One News.
Volcano emergency, a massive evacuation underway tonight as a volcano in St. Vincent now raining down ash from the sky. The eruption sending plumes of smoke across the island and shockwaves throughout the region. Tonight, cruise ships are standing by to take residents to safety as many people anxiously watch the wind and the weather. The medical examiner who performed the autopsy on George Floyd taking the stand in the trial of former police officer Derek Chauvin, telling the jury Floyd died of low oxygen due to neck restraint, adding that the compression was, quote, more than Mr. Floyd could handle. The death of Prince Philip, the husband of Queen Elizabeth, passing away after nearly a century of living. Buckingham Palace saying he died peacefully at Windsor Castle today. The castle bell tolling 99 times. Philip, married to Elizabeth in 1947, the longest-serving spouse of a British monarch in history. Mourners gathering outside the palace to pay their respects. The urgent push to contain new surges, the new strategy tonight from the Biden administration to contain new variants. But also tonight, concern over a drop in Johnson & Johnson doses, what this means for Americans trying to get shots. Embattled Congressman Matt Gaetz now facing a new bipartisan ethics investigation over those allegations of sexual misconduct and other wrongdoing. Also, he continues to resist the growing calls to step down. And the tributes pouring in tonight as we get word legendary rapper DMX has passed away. And good evening, everyone. I'm Kira Phillips in for Lindsey Davis. Thank you so much for streaming with us. We are now 2 weeks into the trial of former officer Derek Chauvin. It's been an emotional 10 days, a few times so much so that the judge has had to briefly pause the proceedings. Jurors also recounting how they've had trouble sleeping at night as the weight of this decision, one that will reverberate across the country and world, and it's clearly affecting them. It all started with hearing the testimony from those who were there that day, the witnesses recounting what they saw and heard, and prosecutors playing every moment, every angle available to show the jurors what happened to George Floyd. The trial shifting then to the former colleagues to Derek Chauvin, taking the stand to testify against him, many of them saying what Chauvin did was wrong and not within department policy. The past few days, we've heard from medical experts weighing in on how Floyd died. The defense today pressing the medical examiner on whether other factors led to Floyd's death. Once again, our Alex Perez leads us off from Minneapolis.
Today, the medical examiner who performed the autopsy on George Floyd testifying Floyd had very severe underlying heart disease at the time he struggled with the officers and came under the knee of Derek Chauvin.
The law enforcement subdual restraint and the neck compression was just more than Mr. Floyd could take by virtue of those heart conditions.
Dr. Andrew Baker's testimony providing an opening for the defense, which argues heart disease and drug use led to Floyd's death.
In your opinion, both the heart disease as well as the history of hypertension and the drugs that were in his system played a role in Mr. Floyd's death?
In my opinion, yes.
The prosecution quick to follow up.
What today remains your opinion as to the cause of death for Mr. Floyd?
So my opinion remains unchanged. It's what I put on the death certificate last June. That's cardiopulmonary arrest complicating law enforcement subdual restraint and neck compression. That was my top line then. It would stay my top line now.
Those other contributing conditions are not conditions that you consider direct causes. Is that true?
They are not direct causes of Mr. Floyd's death. That's true. They're contributing causes.
And in terms of manner of death, you found then, and do you stand by today, that the manner of death for Mr. Floyd was, as you would call it, homicide?
Yes, I would still classify it as a homicide today.
Baker did not use the word asphyxia in his official report, but 2 other medical experts have testified Floyd did indeed die from lack of oxygen.
Have you, Dr. Thomas, formed an opinion about the mechanism of death?
Yes.
Would you tell us what that is?
In this case, I believe the primary mechanism of death is asphyxia or low oxygen.
The prosecution today calling forensic pathologist Dr. Lindsey Thomas.
So if you put all this together, cardiopulmonary arrest, complicating, law enforcement subdual, restraint, and neck compression, what does that mean?
Well, what it means to me is that the activities of the law enforcement officers resulted in Mr. Floyd's death, and that specifically those activities were the subdual, the restraint, and the neck compression.
And does this then also represent your own conclusion?
Yes.
So focusing in on the mechanism of death here, how is it that the officers subdual, restraint, and neck compression caused Mr. Floyd's death?
So, as I mentioned, I think the primary mechanism was asphyxia or low oxygen. And it basically is Mr. Floyd was in a position because of the subdual, restraint, and compression where he was unable to get enough oxygen in to maintain his body functions. The activities of the law enforcement officers resulted in Mr. Floyd's death, and that specifically those activities were the subdual, the restraint, and the neck compression. He was unable to get enough oxygen in to maintain his body functions.
The doctor convinced.
There's no evidence to suggest he would have died that night, except for the interactions with law enforcement.
Alex Perez joining us now from Minneapolis. Alex, we are 2 weeks in, so when is the prosecution expected to wrap their case?
Hey, Kara, yeah, it's been a busy 2 weeks of testimony for these jurors listening to this case. We expect the prosecution is going to call another medical examiner to testify, and then we expect they could possibly rest their case by calling in witnesses who personally knew George Floyd and can talk about the kind of person he was. Kara?
So, Alex, over these 10 days, is there a specific moment or day that you think really seared into the jury's memory?
You know, like I said, it's been a busy 2 weeks of testimony, and that first week we saw a lot of that emotional testimony from eyewitnesses, and this week it's been a lot of medical and forensic and investigative experts taking the stand. But one that stands out this week is definitely one they saw yesterday, Dr. Martin Tobin. He was the lung pulmonary expert, an expert on breathing, and he just seemed to really break down all these complicated medical things in simple ways to the jury. He had them sort of touching their necks and their backs and feeling how they breathe. It was something that they seemed to really connect with, and I think as this case moves forward, that's one of the witnesses, some of the testimony that they're going to really remember. Kara?
Alex, appreciate you covering this every day for us. Thanks. For more analysis of the trial, we bring in ABC News contributor and host of the Law and Crime Network, Brian Buckmeyer. Brian, good to see you.
Good to see you as well.
All right, let's start with Dr. Andrew Baker, shall we, who performed George Floyd's autopsy. His report said that Floyd died of, quote, cardiopulmonary arrest, complicating law enforcement, subdual restraint, and neck compression. It did not find that Floyd died from lack of oxygen, as known as asphyxia, which is what medical experts are now saying. How's the prosecution dealing with this discrepancy?
Yeah, so I think the prosecution is dealing with it pretty well. First, it comes down to the definitions. That quote that you read is the cause of death. And Dr. Baker explained the difference between cause of death and manner of death. Now, what the cause of death is saying is the heart stopped, right? Now, asphyxia simply means a lack of oxygen to the body. And as we would all know, just through common sense, if my heart stops, the rest of my body is not going to get oxygen. So it's really a sequential issue of how George Floyd died. And I think the prosecution was able to explain that very technical concept to the jury pretty well.
All right, so let's play this moment when Chauvin's attorney questions forensic pathologist Dr. Lindsey Thomas, who's supposed to be a witness for the prosecution. Take a listen.
Let's take the police out of this, and I'm going to ask you a hypothetical. Let's assume you found Mr. Floyd dead in his residence. No police involvement, no drugs, right? The only thing you found would be these facts about his heart, what would you conclude to be the cause of death?
In that very narrow set of circumstances, I would probably conclude that the cause of death was his heart disease.
Brian, how significant was that testimony?
So from what we're getting from the pool reporters, not many of the jurors actually took notes during that hypothetical. I think that it maybe fell a little flat. And then, interestingly enough, attorney Jerry Blackwell came back with his own hypothetical that was objected to, but the jury still heard it, talking about if Mrs. Lincoln, talking about the former president who was assassinated, took out Wilkes Booth, who shot him in the head, what would that conclusion be? Now, it was objected to, but the thought is still there. If we saw President Lincoln just laying on the ground by himself and didn't know he was assassinated, we would think it would be a suicide. But knowing all of the facts and seeing the video, we know he was assassinated. And I think that's the point that the jury heard from the prosecution.
Well, Dr. Baker also talked more about Floyd's underlying heart condition. Let's watch this for a moment.
You know he had very severe underlying heart disease. So he has a heart that already needs more oxygen than a normal heart by virtue of its size, and it's limited in its ability to step up to provide more oxygen. In my opinion, the law enforcement subdual restraint and the neck compression was just more than Mr. Floyd could take by virtue of those heart conditions.
So Dr. Baker says that this was, quote, more than Floyd could take. Does it make a difference legally if Chauvin's actions were the direct cause of Floyd's death versus a contributing cause?
So legally, it doesn't really affect it. In tort law, the phrase they use is the eggshell rule, basically meaning you take the person as they are. And if you think about it, it makes sense. There's a reason why I can't go up to a person who is suffering from lung cancer from years of smoking and then choke them to death and blame the lung cancer. You have to take the person as they are, and if you cause that death, regardless of their medical background, you're the person who murdered them.
So, Brian, what do you think might stick with jurors over the next couple of days after such an intense and emotional week?
Yeah, so the prosecution was very, very smart to line up their witnesses in a way that the jury is going to be left with Friday night, all Saturday, and all Sunday to sit with the testimony, not only of Dr. Chauvin from yesterday, who was phenomenal and captivating by so many, but also from the medical examiner. That's the crescendo that we saw from all the medical experts so far, where he solidified both the cause of death, the manner of death, and the fact that the heart and the drugs in George Floyd was not a reason for his death.
Brian Buckmeyer, thanks for being there for us. Appreciate your insights.
My pleasure. Thank you.
The monarchy is mourning today after Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh, and Queen Elizabeth's husband of more than 70 years has passed away. Prince Philip recently spent a month in the hospital and was just 1 month shy of turning 100 years old. ABC's James Longman brings us this report on the life and legacy of the prince.
Tonight in London, 99 tolls at Westminster Abbey for Prince Philip's 99 years. Queen Elizabeth's husband, the longest-serving royal spouse in British history, died at Windsor Castle earlier today. In COVID-safe tradition, masked palace aides presented the announcement. It is with deep sorrow that Her Majesty the Queen announces the death of her beloved husband, it said. The royal family join with people around the world in mourning his loss. His death comes at a time of great struggle already. More than a year in this pandemic, there will be no crowds, but flowers and cards have made their way to palace gates. Thoughts are especially with the Queen, who has now lost her companion of more than 73 years. Tonight, a longtime friend of the Duke.
What will his loss mean for the Queen?
It'll be an enormous loss. The best way I can think of putting it is that he wore the trousers in the family in order that the Queen could wear the crown. He was there to deal with all the family stuff in order that she could be the monarch.
He was born a prince, but it was far from a fairy tale childhood. His family fled war and revolution in Greece when he was just a baby. He would grow up and join the Royal Navy, and as a handsome young cadet, Philip captivated the future Queen when she was just a teenager. In 1947, when she was 21 and he 26, they would marry. In public, always walking 2 paces behind the Queen, but in private, Elizabeth's equal partner, a playful father to his 4 children, a grandfather, a great-grandfather to future kings. A stiff upper lip, but he knew how difficult it was to join the royal family. It was famously Philip who would reach out to Diana, hoping to help her navigate her marriage to Prince Charles, and after Diana's death, walking with William and Harry behind her coffin. He was a keen sportsman, full of energy and ideas, and in the early days he was seen as a radical outsider. He had a sense of humour and at times was criticised for his lack of tact and comments that were deemed insensitive.
I think that the main lesson that we've learned is that tolerance is the one essential ingredient of any happy marriage. And you can take it from me that the Queen has the quality of tolerance and abundance.
Tributes are pouring in tonight from around the world. President Biden sending deepest condolences from the American people.
His bravery serving in World War II, as well as his being a champion of the environment, as well as the charitable things he set up. So we really do express our condolences for extraordinary life. 99 years old, he never slowed down at all, and which I admire the devil out of.
Prince Philip at the Queen's side on so many visits with American presidents. At Buckingham Palace with JFK and Jackie Kennedy in 1961, with the Reagans at their California getaway in 1983, at the White House and on the field at Camden Yards with George H.W. Bush and Barbara, to see the Orioles play the Oakland A's in 1991, and visits with the Obamas too at Windsor Castle in 2016. And tonight in the UK, Prime Minister Boris Johnson speaking for all Britons.
We give thanks as a nation and a kingdom for the extraordinary life and work of Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh.
Prince Philip will be remembered as a man dedicated to service to the British people and for more than 7 decades to his Queen.
He has quite simply been my strength and stay all these years, and I and his whole family owe him a debt greater than he would ever claim or we shall ever know.
James Longman joining us now outside Buckingham Palace, where mourners have been gathering all day to pay their respects. James, tonight we're actually hearing that Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, who have been at odds with the palace, of course, they've released a tribute to Prince Philip.
Yeah, that's right, Kira. First up on the funeral, we understand it's going to be a private service. That'll take place at Windsor Castle, not a state funeral, and that's because of COVID, of course. But I think probably Prince Philip would have preferred that. He wasn't a man who enjoyed people celebrating him really in any way. And as for Meghan and Harry, well, yes, they have released this tribute. They've updated the Archewell website. They've said that they wish Prince Philip well. They say, thank you for your service. You'll be greatly missed. And whether or not they make it here for the funeral, well, that is the big question. Of course, there are complications with regards to COVID, whether or not people can come from the United States and get into Britain. Meghan, as well, is pregnant, so she may not feel that she can fly. But that Oprah interview really did send shockwaves through the United Kingdom. It did cause a big split in the family, particularly between William and Harry, we understand. So I think people in this country certainly will want to see Harry here. They want to see the family reunited in some way. Especially in support of the Queen, who tonight everyone is really thinking about very deeply. Kira?
Well, we'll definitely be following it. James Longman in London, thanks so much. And joining us now to talk more about Prince Philip's legacy and what comes next is ABC News contributor and author Imogen Lloyd-Webber. Imogen, thanks so much for joining us.
Of course, happy to be here.
Well, the Queen and Prince Philip got married right after World War II. It's incredible how many decades they've been married, and they've been by each other's side ever since. Give us a sense of the role that Prince Philip played in the lives of the royal family.
Absolutely key. I mean, as you mentioned, they were married in 1947, almost 74 years. Philip was the longest-serving consort in British history and the oldest-serving partner of a reigning monarch. He was right there with the Queen. Now, the Queen is obviously figurehead to over 2 billion people, a third of the world. But Prince Philip was figurehead to the royal family. So he ran the family, as it were, while the Queen was busy reigning over those billions of people. So he's absolutely intrinsic to the history of the UK and sort of around the world as well.
You know, he was never in line for the British throne, and it was clear from the beginning that he would never be given the title of king, something that never seemed to bother him. He always came across so humble. Tell us more about this dynamic and his relationship with the Queen, and did that evolve or change over the years?
It's sort of a very interesting fact that both of them, both the Queen and Prince Philip, were great-great-grandchildren of Queen Victoria, but they had very different upbringings. The Queen, obviously, full of deference and so forth. Prince Philip, on the other hand, he was born into the Greek royal family, and they went into exile when Prince Philip was still a baby. He famously escaped as a baby in an orange crate on a boat. They were penniless. He supposedly, when he married the Queen, had less than 25 cents to his name. So he saw a very different side of things to the Queen. She relied on him very much for his perspective, for his foot in the real world. He, on very many levels, made the royal family more approachable and accessible. People talk about Diana doing that, and Meghan and Harry, but actually it was Prince Philip that started that sort of side of things, of opening up the royal family. So he was never going to be king consort. He knew that from the start. He was always very realistic about his place in the world and within the family.
And his gentle role, indeed. You know, his passing comes just weeks, Imogen, after that blockbuster interview that his grandson, Prince Harry, and his wife, Meghan, gave to Oprah. Clearly, there is tension between them and the palace. So do we anticipate Harry and Meghan heading back to London, you think?
That's a very interesting question. There's obviously the backdrop of COVID as well. In the UK currently, funerals are restricted to 30 people. Now, Prince Philip had 8 grandchildren and 10 great-grandchildren. So, you know, there's a very big family there. Now, it is believed that Prince Harry, because he has the status of diplomat, he could circumnavigate some COVID restrictions and quarantine and therefore make it to the funeral. So I think it's very much expected that Prince Harry will go. Meghan, less certain, of course, because she's pregnant with a baby daughter due in the summer. But I think we'd all be very surprised if Prince Harry wasn't there. They will obviously put on a show of family unity, but this will be the first time that Prince Harry is in the same room as the rest of his family since that blockbuster interview. So we shall see what transpires behind closed doors. I'm sure we'll be hearing something of that.
Oh, it'll definitely be interesting to watch. The folks are always fascinated by the royals. You know, the last ceremonial funeral for a member of the royal family was back in 2002 after the passing of the Queen's mother, Queen Mum, of course, without a public funeral. Will that impact Philip's legacy, you think?
No, I don't think so. And actually, COVID is playing into what Prince Philip always wanted. He didn't want the fuss of a ceremonial funeral. He wanted a small funeral at Windsor. So he's getting what he wished. His legacy is extraordinary. I mean, he was going to turn 100 in June. He lived a very full life, something like 22,000 public engagements. He was patron of over 700 families. 700 charities. So he lived an extraordinary life, and we will be looking back on it for many years to come.
Imogen Lloyd-Webber, thanks so much for talking with me tonight. Now to the latest on the pandemic, with case counts remaining high, especially among the young. And states are bracing for a big drop in their supply of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine next week due to production issues. But tonight, Pfizer is asking to extend the emergency use of authorization on its vaccine to children ages 12 to 15 after it was shown to be safe and effective. So can the pace of vaccines help contain another surge? Here's ABC's Whit Johnson.
Tonight, with new COVID cases topping 75,000 2 days in a row, the federal government promising to surge resources to growing hotspots. States like Michigan, where hospital admissions have jumped more than 30% over the past week.
It's Michigan and the Midwest today, and tomorrow or next week it could be the Northeast or the South or another part of our country.
The governor pleading for more vaccines to fight back against the variants. The Biden administration sending response teams and testing supplies, but no extra doses.
What we should be doing right now in places like Michigan is we should be surging tests, surging vaccinations, helping those states get over this.
Many states already bracing for a plunge in doses of the Johnson & Johnson single-shot vaccine by nearly 85% next week. But federal officials say despite inconsistent distribution, they still expect the company to meet its goal.
Johnson & Johnson has also reiterated its commitment to provide at or near 100 million vaccine doses by the end of May.
And tonight, after a temporary pause at a handful of vaccination sites from Colorado to North Carolina, following reports of a small number of mild adverse reactions, the CDC finding no safety issues related to the J&J vaccine. And now there's new hope that younger teens could start getting vaccinated before fall. Today, Pfizer asking the FDA to extend authorization of its vaccine for 12 to 15-year-olds after the company reported it was safe and 100% effective.
Right now, COVID-19 vaccines are being offered to most folks over 16 or 18, but that means the vast majority of children are not eligible for a vaccine yet. Children need to be careful. They need to wear their mask and socially distance.
The CDC tracking clusters of cases tied to youth sports. The virus hitting high school basketball player Zach Darris in Illinois, though it's not clear where he got infected.
I had the fever at first, and then when I really hit me that I had it is when I lost my taste, lost my smell.
ABC's Whit Johnson joining me now from a vaccination site in White Plains. Whit, after that mix-up of ingredients at a Baltimore plant making the J&J vaccine, there's now a new report that more doses could be in jeopardy. What do you know?
Kira, after millions of doses were reportedly ruined, the New York Times now says another 62 million unfinished doses of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine are now in question until it can be determined if they were also contaminated. Now, those were not shipped out yet, and that plant in Baltimore is still awaiting FDA authorization before any doses can be delivered. Kira?
We'll continue to follow the story with you. Whit, thanks so much. And when we come back, the new investigation facing embattled Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz on top of that Justice Department probe. And what are so many Guatemalans leaving everything they know and heading north to the U.S.? Our John Quijones sits down with Guatemala's president. But up next, massive eruptions and the potentially life-saving evacuations set to begin by cruise ships. But there's a catch.
With so much at stake, so much on the line, more Americans turn here than any other newscast. ABC News World News Tonight with David Muir.
We have made it through another week together.
America's #1 most watched newscast across all of television.
Admit it, these days, what you need to know
seems to change just about every day.
What is it that you really want to know, need to know?
To help you not just get through your day,
but to make the most of it. Feel smarter.
Feel better.
Feel happier.
Well, how about a third hour of Good Morning America in the afternoon?
GMA 3, what you need to know. Lunchtime at 1 Eastern, 12 Central and Pacific on ABC. It's all about you.
Robin Roberts, George Stephanopoulos, Michael Strahan. Wake up with America's #1 most watched morning show. ABC's
Good Morning America.
The world may feel out of your control, but your happiness doesn't have to be. Learn the secrets to happiness. Listen to the 10% Happier podcast, free on Apple Podcasts.
ABC News honored winner for the second straight year with the Edward R. Murrow Award for Overall Excellence in Television. ABC News, America's #1 news source. Friday nights, 9/8 Central. True crime, cinematic, real-life drama, stunning, the unthinkable. Follow the clues. The Hunt. True crime. 2020. Friday nights, 9/8 Central on ABC.
The reality is our country can collapse from within.
You see the white power movement on the march. Klansmen and neo-Nazis, skinheads, it's meant to incite war.
From the KKK to Oklahoma City to Charlottesville, the new documentary event special.
We just need to start talking about race.
Homegrown hate, the war among us.
This is a real wake-up call.
Streaming now on ABC News Live.
Now, when it matters most, the straightforward facts. ABC News is America's #1 news. Number 1 in the morning. Number 1 in the evening with America's most watched newscast. Number 1 in late night versus the competition. The number 1 news magazine on Friday nights. Number 1 in politics across this historic election versus the competition. The number 1 daytime talk show. And number 1 in streaming news. ABC News is America's number 1 news.
Yes, it is incredibly disturbing. It's footage of Myanmar forces opening fire on a man trying to flee them by desperately trying to leap the wall of a compound. At least 5 gunshots rang out. The incident took place in northwestern Myanmar as the security crackdown post-military coup continues. The videographer says he doesn't know what happened to that man because he needed to hide to avoid being spotted. Next to the mass evacuations underway on that Caribbean island, a long dormant volcano has now erupted on the island of St. Vincent, sending ash miles into the air as thousands of people are ordered to leave the area. ABC's Gio Benitez has more.
Tonight, the monstrous eruption on St. Vincent Island spewing ash into the sky. A pilot reported seeing the plume rising to 25,000 feet.
Those with children at the front, please.
A massive evacuation underway, some 16,000 people. The ash raining down, stopping a high-speed ferry rescue because of the dangerous conditions.
Can't see anything.
Now tonight, 4 massive cruise ships are standing by offshore, waiting for orders to carry evacuees to neighboring islands. Carnival, Royal Caribbean, and Celebrity sending those ships. Local health officials making the decision to only board evacuees who have already been vaccinated against COVID. Thousands of others staying on land, sent to local hotels in the safe zones as a second, smaller eruption is reported tonight.
Gio Benitez joining us now. Gio, what are the cruise lines saying about that decision by local health officials that evacuees might have to be vaccinated to get on board?
Yeah, you know what, Kira? We spoke with one of these cruise lines, and they said that they are not making these vaccinations mandatory for boarding these ships, but they are leaving that up to local health officials. And right now, those local health officials say that vaccinations are mandatory.
Well, and Royal Caribbean Cruise Line has provided more information on its evacuation plans. What are they saying, and how are the cruise lines navigating these waters as this volcano spews ash?
Yeah, well, right now, Royal Caribbean says that they're assessing everything, but they're already there. They are there at the cruise terminal. They are ready to board that ship. They're just waiting now for them to actually get those evacuees there. That evacuation is likely going to happen, they say, probably on Monday. For now, that is the only ship that is docked. The other 3 are waiting just offshore for this evacuation.
All right, well, we'll wait, too, and see what happens. Gio, great to see you. Still ahead here on Prime, the investigation into that deadly workplace shooting in Texas Thursday continues. What we're learning about a possible motive. And a new problem involving some of Boeing's newest 737 MAX jets. And the concern about rising prices. Well, take a look at the inflation fears and what's behind them by the numbers. But first, our tweet of the day, a message from New York City reminding people it's Friday. Time to get vaccinated.
I know what happened, and I'm not guilty.
Why the fascination with criminal trials? Figure out what's really out there.
She revealed she had murdered his family.
I know in my heart they did this.
It's the time of suspicion. The ending's really tough.
You don't know whether truth is going to be difficult to find unless you try to find it.
The reality is our country can collapse from within.
You see the white power movement on the march. Klansmen and neo-Nazis, skinheads, it's meant to incite war.
From the KKK to Oklahoma City to Charlottesville, the new documentary event special.
We just need to start talking about race.
Homegrown hate, the war among us.
This is a real wake-up call.
Streaming now on ABC News Live.
Admit it. These days, what you need to know
seems to change just about every day.
What is it that you really want to know, need to know?
To help you not just get through your day,
but to make the most of it. Feel smarter.
Feel better.
Feel happier.
Well, how about a third hour of Good Morning America in the afternoon?
GMA 3, what you need to know. Lunchtime at 1 Eastern, 12 Central and Pacific on ABC. It's all about you.
Hours. Assault on the Capitol. The ABC News original. Exclusively on Hulu. Now streaming. With so much at stake, so much on the line, more Americans turn here than any other newscast. ABC News World News Tonight with David Muir.
We have made it through another week together.
America's #1 most watched newscast across all of television.
The world may feel out of your control, but your happiness doesn't have to be. Learn the secrets to happiness. Listen to the 10% Happier podcast, free on Apple Podcasts.
Robin Roberts, George Stephanopoulos, Michael Strahan. Wake up with America's #1 most watched morning show. ABC's
Good Morning America.
ABC News honored winner for the second straight year with the Edward R. Murrow Award for overall excellence in television. ABC News, America's #1 news source.
So have you noticed prices going up lately? Well, it's not your imagination. Whether you're buying groceries, gas, or a home, you're likely paying more. We take a closer look at recent inflation by the numbers. The Producer Price Index rose 1% in March. The Labor Department announced today this measures the inflation of wholesale goods and services produced in the United States. Over the entire year, wholesale prices rose 4.2%, the biggest yearly spike since 2011. Rising energy costs accounted for nearly 60% of last month's surge, with energy prices up 5.9% in March, following a 6% hike in February. Gas prices are up 8.8% this month, and grocery prices are now up 3.5% for the year. And finally, core inflation, which excludes volatile food and energy prices, rose nearly 1% just last month and is up 3.1% over the past year, well above what most analysts expected. The higher costs of steel commodities and shipping are driving up prices, in addition to pandemic-related supply chain problems, weather events, and surging demand as the economy reopens and Americans get those stimulus checks. And we still have a ton here to cover on Prime. The tributes pouring in for legendary rapper DMX, and why the Guatemalan president says he's embarrassed to be a human. But first, look at our top trending stories on abcnews.com.
We will guide you through it all tonight. We have made it through another week together.
Give me a big hug, Griffin.
We tell all our patients how much they're loved. We hold their hands.
David, we're showing our love and support for all the ICU staff.
They're the heroes in this.
Now, when it matters most, the straightforward facts. ABC News is America's #1 news. #1 in the morning, #1 in the evening, with America's most watched newscast. #1 in late night versus the competition. The #1 news magazine on Friday nights. #1 in politics across this historic election versus the competition. The #1 daytime talk show. And #1 in streaming news. ABC News is America's #1 news.
The world may feel out of your control, but your happiness doesn't have to be. Learn the secrets to happiness. Listen to the 10% Happier podcast, free on Apple Podcasts.
ABC News honored winner for the second straight year with the Edward R. Murrow Award for overall excellence in television. ABC News, America's #1 news source.
This is GMA 3, what you need to know. GMA 3.
A third hour of Good Morning America in the afternoon.
It's all about you. Lunchtime on ABC.
The reality is our country can collapse from within.
You see the white power movement on the march. Klansmen and neo-Nazis, skinheads. It's meant to incite war.
From the KKK to Oklahoma City to Charlottesville, the new documentary event special.
We just need to start talking about race.
Homegrown hate, the war among us.
This is a real wake-up call.
Streaming now on ABC News Live.
Friday nights, 9/8 Central. True crime, cinematic, real-life drama, stunning, the unthinkable. Follow the clues. The Hunt. True crime. 2020. Friday nights, 9/8 Central on ABC.
The most powerful stories of our time, anytime. Nightline.
Witness Dr. Lindsey.
Prosecutors in the closely watched Derek Chauvin trial continuing to call witnesses to the stand. Friday, pathologist Dr. Lindsey Thomas up first, saying George Floyd died because of Chauvin's actions.
There's no evidence to suggest he would have died that night, except for the interactions with law enforcement.
Dr. Thomas is a retired assistant medical examiner for Hennepin County, explaining to jurors Floyd was desperately trying to breathe but was ultimately unable to.
Mr. Floyd was in a position, because of the subdural restraint and compression, where he was unable to get enough oxygen in to maintain his body functions.
Defense attorney Eric Nelson returning again to the theory that Floyd's drug use and heart conditions led to his death, pressing medical experts in his cross-examination.
And one of the things that can cause a low oxygen to the brain is the use of controlled substances, correct?
Well, eventually, yes.
The world is marking the death of Prince Philip, husband to Britain's Queen Elizabeth for 73 years. He passed away peacefully on Friday morning at the royal family home of Windsor Castle. Buckingham Palace announcing the news, lowering its flags to half-staff. A statement from President Biden paid tribute to his life of duty. A muted reaction from the Sussex's website, reading simply, "Thank you for your service. You will be greatly missed."
We are getting our first look at tomorrow's British papers, the Daily Mail and the Daily Mirror, both writing, "Goodbye, my beloved," and the Evening Standard with the headline, "A Life of Service."
Now begins an official period of mourning for 30 days for the royal family.
So far, we have one shot in arm, one shot in back.
A man accused of a deadly shooting, Rampage in Texas, is due in court. 27-year-old Larry Winston Bolin in custody on $1 million bond for murder. Police say he opened fire inside of Kentmore Cabinets in Bryan at 2:30 yesterday afternoon. 40-year-old Timothy Smith was killed. 5 people were wounded. 2 have been released from the hospital. 2 others are in stable condition, and 1 person is in critical. A state trooper was also shot. He's hospitalized in serious but stable condition.
Less than 24 hours earlier, across the country, another tragedy. 5 people killed in a shooting rampage in South Carolina. The victims, a repairman, a prominent doctor, his wife, and 2 grandchildren. 1 more injured on the scene. The suspect, former NFL player Philip Adams, later died by suicide.
New troubles for Boeing. The 737 MAX has another potential issue leading to some planes being grounded.
United, American, Southwest, and Alaska Airlines are now parking their Boeing 737 MAX aircraft so they can be inspected for a possible electrical grounding issue. If fixes are needed, Boeing indicates they could be done quickly. This is totally unrelated to the previous automation system issue linked to 2 deadly crashes that had the planes grounded for close to 2 years.
The family of rapper DMX in a statement announcing his death at age 50. He'd been in the hospital since last week after suffering a heart attack stemming from a reported drug overdose.
Perhaps best known for the nightclub anthem Party Up. Rapper DMX was born Earl Simmons and overcame a troubled childhood, physical abuse, severe asthma, to top the charts in the late 90s. 5 #1 albums in a row and 3 Grammy nominations. Andy battled demons, several stints in rehab for drug abuse, a year in prison for tax evasion, multiple drug and weapons arrests. But DMX also found time for acting in films including Romeo Must Die. His last album, Redemption of the Beast, came out in 2015.
Now to the new trouble for Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz. The House Ethics Committee announcing it's launched an investigation into conduct by Gaetz, who is already under investigation by the Justice Department. Here's ABC's Mary Bruce.
Already under federal investigation, tonight another probe into embattled Republican Congressman Matt Gaetz. The House Ethics Committee launching a bipartisan investigation, examining allegations of sexual misconduct, illicit drug use, and whether Gaetz shared inappropriate images or videos on the House floor. The Florida Republican is also being investigated by the Justice Department over allegations he had sex with a 17-year-old girl and paid for her travel, possibly breaking sex trafficking laws. Gaetz has denied any wrongdoing and is refusing calls for his resignation.
It is a horrible allegation, and it is a lie.
Today, the congressman hiring a new legal team with ties to his close ally, former President Trump. It comes as ABC News has learned that Gaetz's friend and associate Joel Greenberg, a local Florida politician, could be cooperating with federal investigators. Sources tell ABC the Justice Department is zeroing in on whether Greenberg and Gaetz paid women who were recruited online cash for sex. Greenberg, who pled not guilty to sex trafficking charges, is now considering taking a plea deal, which could impact the investigation into Gaetz. Greenberg's lawyer, blunt.
I'm sure Matt Gaetz is not feeling very comfortable today.
Mary Bruce joins me now. So, Mary, what are the potential consequences for Gaetz from the House ethics investigation, and will it move forward while the Justice Department is having its probe as well?
Well, depending on what the House Ethics Committee finds, they could recommend anything ranging from a reprimand to censure, even expulsion, and they could go so far, depending on the findings again, to recommend a criminal referral to the Justice Department for its ongoing investigation. Reacting tonight to the news of this new probe on the House side, the congressman's office saying, quote, these allegations are blatantly false. Kira.
So, Mary, meanwhile, President Biden today outlining his spending priorities and his new budget request to Congress. What are some of the highlights?
Well, he's asking for a massive $1.5 trillion in federal investments. This skinny budget, as it is called, is always an aspirational document, but it is a good sense of the president's priorities. He is asking for a lot of money to be spent in education, expanding affordable housing, public health, confronting climate change. Not surprisingly, this is getting some mixed reviews over on the Hill. We've seen Republicans accusing the president of shortchanging the Pentagon and defense spending, while on the flip side, we've seen the Senate Budget Chairman Bernie Sanders saying it's too bloated. Again, though, this is just the beginning of this process. A full budget is still expected to come.
Mary Bruce from our nation's capital. Thanks, Mary.
Thanks, Kira.
Guatemala, where about 60% of its citizens live in poverty, is the fifth poorest country in Latin America and the Caribbean. And while it remains one of the most dangerous countries in the world, it's the economic desperation that drives most of the people who make that dangerous trek north in pursuit of the American dream. ABC's John Quinones sat down with the president of Guatemala to discuss the conditions causing his people to flee and the dangers children are facing at the hands of human smugglers.
So many of these people lost everything they had. They have no jobs, no homes, losing it to hurricanes, and then there's the violence. If you were in those parents' shoes, what would you do?
It's difficult to say. It's difficult to answer. But they lose something more important. They lose the hope.
And sometimes their lives.
And losing the hope doesn't matter their lives.
It's heartbreaking. It touches you.
Touch anyone.
It's a problem that touches the heart of any human being with an ounce of mercy. A tiny bit of mercy. It has to hurt them.
Here in Guatemala, how bad is the situation with people going north?
Well, the situation is complicated. People emigrate because they lack opportunities. People emigrate because they have no jobs, no home, no health, no education or security. And those are the 5 factors that effectively cause problems and lead people to leave their countries in search of a dream that is no longer such an American dream. It's a much more complicated dream.
Last night, we interviewed some people on the streets of the capital here, and also we've been out in the countryside. So many of them tell us that they don't want to leave Guatemala, but they don't see an economic future here. They have no choice but to pay the smugglers, the coyotes, and head north. What would you tell them?
No one abandons their home, their family, or their land on a lark. That is what a tourist does. But people who do it out of need have to find in their country enough guarantees that they will have opportunities. And that is what we have been talking about with Vice President Harris and President Biden, about the need to build walls of prosperity, as opposed to the physical walls, the high walls. Those anyone can cross. Physical walls don't stop immigration. And if not, they hire someone like El Chapo Guzman to dig a tunnel and cross underneath. But the wall doesn't stop it. The only thing that stops a person is a wall of prosperity.
Quería enseñarle un video, porque la situación está muy crítica en la frontera de los Estados Unidos. Did you see this video of 2 little girls crossing the border wall, and the coyotes drop them over? And you'll see the they're 3 and 5 years old. They drop one little girl, and then they go back for her sister, and they drop her, and then the coyotes run back into Mexico. What do you think when you see that?
That sometimes it's an embarrassment to be a human.
You're ashamed to be a human.
No animal does that. Whoever did that is someone whose livelihood depends on that.
Do you think people have been led to believe that President Biden would be easier on immigrants, especially children?
That was not exactly Biden's message. But they used his message to turn it around and tell people, now's the time. They'll receive you. Let's go. The message is confusing. Messages have to be clear.
Are you more optimistic that this immigration problem will be solved, or at least curtailed, under the Biden administration or the Trump administration, as it was?
I think we'll be better than with Biden than Trump. I guess so. I hope so. I need so.
And you're already making inroads. There's signs of progress.
Yes. And in fact, the United States didn't tell us, help us stop the caravans. They didn't ask us to do that. We did it. Because you can't have 8,000 people enter, break barriers, not go through immigration, and attempt to invade the country to get to the other side. That's an invasion.
There is dramatic video of that confrontation in Vado Hondo, where 7,000 Hondurans met up with your military forces. It was brutal. It was pretty violent. Can that happen again?
Well, we were shot at. Our forces did not fire. We had stones thrown at us. Our forces used their shields to protect themselves from the stones. They started to realize little by little that they wouldn't cross. We have the right to ensure respect for our sovereignty as a country. It's exactly the same thing if I were to enter the United States illegally. Because humans have to understand that there are laws that need to be respected. And what we're asking is for Guatemalan laws to be respected.
I understand that the proposal between the U.S. and Guatemala, proposed by Vice President Harris, would also help create jobs here in Guatemala, improve living conditions here, promote transparency in your government, and that the U.S. would do whatever it can to fight crime here. Are those the details you're mentioning?
No, we mentioned many issues. We mentioned, for example, the issue of corruption. Let's go back to the cause, not to the effect. One of the main causes of corruption in Guatemala is called drug trafficking. That generates corruption at all levels.
You mentioned drug corruption, but Mr. President, Guatemala has been rated as the government of this country as one of the most corrupt governments in the entire world. How can the United States be assured that any funding that it gives to Guatemala will go to where it's supposed to go, toward jobs and security, and that this will stop the people from making dangerous journeys?
I'll correct you in one thing. First of all, I've been here 14 months. Not a single accusation of corruption has been lodged against me or against any of my ministers, not a single one. Of course, you can tell me that there have been corrupt governments. Well, of course, yes, I won't deny that. But you can't say that this government, which has faced the pandemic, I only served 49 days in office with no pandemic, that we have devoted ourselves to corruption. What corruption? We haven't been accused of corruption because we need the United States to open its doors. We need the United States to see us as their front yard, as their partner, more than an ally, to be partners, because we are partners in the same problems. They don't want illegal people over there, and I don't want them to leave. So we have a common problem. Let's solve it together. And the way to solve it together is like we discussed with Vice President Harris, whom I invited to come to Guatemala in the next few weeks, so that we can define what is already being done.
Immigration is not a crime.
No, it is not a crime. The right to leave one place and go to another is not a crime. What is a crime is that we, the governments, have not done enough to keep people from needing to leave. That is the crime.
So what do you tell those people that I met on the streets about whether they should go or not, who are desperate to go?
Tell them to have faith, to have trust. And so I would tell people to have faith. We know that we're going through difficult moments. The whole world, not just the country, the world.
And our thanks to John Quinones. Before we go tonight, the image of the day. Actor Sir Ian McKellen, one of so many in the UK, paying tribute outside Windsor Castle and throughout that country following the death of Prince Philip, who passed away peacefully this morning. That's our show for this hour. Stay tuned to ABC News Live for more context and analysis of the day's top stories. Thanks so much for streaming with us. And coming up in the next hour, we're staying on top of a few things for you. 50 years old and gone too soon. The impact of DMX on the hip-hop community. And do you know someone addicted to online shopping? Is that someone you? We have some helpful tips for you. All of this when we come back.
I know what happened, and I'm not guilty.
Why the fascination with criminal trials? Figure out what's really out there.
She revealed she had murdered his family.
I know in my heart they did this.
It's the time of suspicion.
The ending's really tough. You don't know whether truth is going to be difficult to find unless you try to find it.
Somewhere out in the country, there's a man.
I'm Bobby.
Doing good things for good people. He'll walk a mile in their shoes, then get them a brand spanking new pair when he's done.
Just wanted you to have this.
Thank you.
You name it, he'll try. Even if it breaks him.
Bobby Bones, they're trying to break you.
Oh, great.
Breaking Bobby Bones. New series Monday, May 31st at 10 on National Geographic.
This was the ultimate nightmare. In the space of 3 days, we have 5 students dead.
The serial killer is on the loose.
You know, we live in the Bible Belt. Things like that don't happen here.
And the one haunting piece of evidence, this audio cassette that changed everything. Now, new, emotional, and revealing interviews from those who were there.
There was a audible gasp.
He did something no one saw coming.
Pure evil.
2020, tonight at 9/8 Central on ABC.
The reality is our country can collapse from within.
You see the white power movement on the march. Klansmen and neo-Nazis, skinheads, it's meant to incite war.
From the KKK to Oklahoma City to Charlottesville, the new documentary event special.
We just need to start talking about race.
Homegrown hate, the war among us.
This is a real wake-up call.
Streaming now on ABC News Live.
Now, when it matters most, the straightforward facts. ABC News is America's #1 news. #1 in the morning, #1 in the evening, with America's most watched newscast. #1 in late night versus the competition. The #1 news magazine on Friday nights. #1 in politics across this historic election versus the competition. The #1 daytime talk show. And #1 in streaming news. ABC News is America's #1 news.
I'm Kira Phillips. Thanks for streaming with us. We're monitoring several developments here at ABC News this hour. The tributes are pouring in tonight for Prince Philip, the longest-serving spouse of a British monarch in history. The Duke of Edinburgh passed away at the age of 99, just 2 months before his 100th birthday. Buckingham Palace saying he died peacefully at Windsor Castle this morning. COVID infections continue to rise in the United States. More than 75,000 new cases in just the last 24 hours. Younger Americans now impacted at higher rates, and one of the biggest hotspots, the state of Michigan. States also bracing for a massive plunge in the J&J vaccine next week. And the House Ethics Committee has now launched an investigation into Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz. They're looking into claims that he may have engaged in sexual misconduct, illicit drug use, and even sharing inappropriate images on the House floor. Gaetz is already under investigation by the Justice Department for allegations he had sex with a 17-year-old and paid for her travel. Gaetz has denied any wrongdoing. Now to the trial of former officer Derek Chauvin. We are 10 days into the proceedings, and today the conversation was about how George Floyd died and whether Chauvin or other factors could have contributed to it. Our Alex Perez reports from Minneapolis.
Today, the medical examiner who performed the autopsy on George Floyd testifying Floyd had very severe underlying heart disease at the time he struggled with the officers and came under the knee of Derek Chauvin.
The law enforcement subdual restraint and the neck compression was just more than Mr. Floyd could take by virtue of those heart conditions.
Dr. Andrew Baker's testimony providing an opening for the defense, which argues heart disease and drug use led to Floyd's death.
In your opinion, both the heart disease as well as the history of hypertension and the drugs that were in his system played a role in Mr. Floyd's death?
In my opinion, yes.
The prosecution quick to follow up.
Those other contributing conditions are not conditions that you consider direct causes. Is that true?
They are not direct causes of Mr. Floyd's death. That's true. They're contributing causes.
And in terms of manner of death, you found then, and do you stand by today, that the manner of death for Mr. Floyd was, as you would call it, homicide?
Yes, I would still classify it as a homicide today.
Baker did not use the word asphyxia in his official report, but 2 other medical experts have testified Floyd did indeed die from lack of oxygen.
Raise your hand.
The prosecution today calling forensic pathologist Dr. Lindsey Thomas.
The activities of the law enforcement officers resulted in Mr. Floyd's death, and that specifically those activities were the subdual, the restraint, and the neck compression. He was unable to get enough oxygen in to maintain his body functions.
The doctor convinced.
There's no evidence to suggest he would have died that night, except for the interactions with law enforcement.
And our thanks to Alex. And more analysis of the trial testimony, we bring in Dr. Barbara Jean Magnani, Director of Toxicology at Tufts Medical Center. Thanks so much for joining us, Doctor.
Thank you for inviting me.
Well, let's start with George Floyd's toxicology report. What does it tell us about how he might have died? And do you agree with Dr. Baker that whether or not specific drug levels can be fatal is, quote, context dependent?
I do agree with Dr. Baker. I think very much that when you look at toxicology results, you're looking at not only the level, but how was the patient prior to death? How were they found? For example, you can see many patients with elevated levels, elevated drug levels that are walking and functioning. And I use the example of the fatal level, what's considered a fatal level of alcohol, which might be 300 to 400 milligrams per deciliter. And that would, again, be fatal. But yet I've seen patients walk into the emergency department with that concentration of ethanol. So, and as Dr. Eisenschmidt brought up yesterday, fentanyl levels are frequently now found in DUIs. So people who are driving under the influence with fentanyl levels that can be higher than what was found in Mr. Floyd's body.
So outside of the toxicology report, are there any other indications that Floyd might have died from a drug overdose? And what facts in particular should the jury pay attention to on this question?
I don't think anything was presented in the autopsy that indicated that there was a drug overdose. I think the medical experts were quite clear on that. So I think that the medical experts, again, presented their case so that the jury will be able to take into context the anatomical findings with the drug results and conclude that the drug results did not necessarily play a part in that death.
Then with regard to those medical experts called by the prosecution, have they done an effective job arguing the state's case and explaining these complicated issues to the jury then?
I think the experts that we heard from today and yesterday were very effective. They were thorough. You could see that their training and their experience really played into this. They had a lot to draw upon. They presented cases, examples of cases to make the jury understand. And I also thought, for example, that Dr. Thomas was very effective in being relatable to the jury, and I think that they will appreciate that.
So do you think the defense has been able to poke any holes in the prosecution's case that it was Derek Chauvin and not the drugs or a heart condition that killed George Floyd?
You know, when you're looking at a forensic autopsy like this, you have to take into consideration all the facts, the toxicology, anatomic findings, what the circumstances were in the surrounding the death. And so I think, again, that the prosecution has done a very good job of laying that evidence out for the jury.
Dr. Magnani, thank you.
Thank you.
The monarchy is mourning today after Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh, and Queen Elizabeth's husband for more than 70 years has passed away. Prince Philip recently spent a month in the hospital and was just 1 month shy of turning 100 years old. ABC's Julia McFarland reports on the life and legacy of the prince.
The world is marking the death of Prince Philip, husband to Britain's Queen Elizabeth for 73 years. He passed away peacefully on Friday morning at the royal family home of Windsor Castle. Buckingham Palace announcing the news, lowering its flags to half-staff, releasing a statement reading, "It is with deep sorrow that Her Majesty the Queen has announced the death of her beloved husband, His Royal Highness the Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh." He passed away peacefully this morning at Windsor Castle. The royal family joined with people around the world in mourning his loss. A statement from President Biden paid tribute to his life of duty. From his service during World War II to his 73 years alongside the Queen and his entire life in the public eye, Prince Philip gladly dedicated himself to the people of the UK, the Commonwealth, and to his family. Philip's death coming after a period of turbulence in the family following his grandson Prince Harry's exit from royal life and a bombshell interview with wife Meghan to Oprah Winfrey. Friday, a muted reaction from the Sussex's website, reading simply, "Thank you for your service. You will be greatly missed." After decades of duty, Philip retired from public life at the age of 96. That duty reflected in the tributes now pouring in, not just across Britain, but from around the world and the Commonwealth. His support and dedication to his wife, the Queen, being credited as the source of her strength, according to those who knew him best.
Well, I mean, the interesting thing about him, the best way I can think of putting it is that he wore the trousers in the family in order that the Queen could wear the crown. He was there to deal with all the family stuff in order that she could be the monarch.
Now begins an official period of mourning for 30 days for the royal family. Saturday, gun salutes will sound from land and warships across the UK and beyond to mark his passing. Queen Elizabeth called him her rock. She will now reign alone. Well, flowers are lining the gates of Buckingham Palace in London and in Windsor Castle, where Prince Philip is lying in rest. Plans for a royal funeral in Windsor are expected to be announced in the coming days. Kira?
And our thanks to Julia. Well, he was known for rap and rebellion at the most gritty and groundbreaking levels. Hip-hop icon DMX, or as his mama named him, Earl Simmons, passed away today at the age of 50. The Yonkers, New York music legend, known for what his family calls a vicious bark of a voice, made no apologies for who he was or where he came from, and was a masterful songwriter who carried his intensity from the studio to the stage. DMX dominated the late 90s, starting with his debut album, It's Dark and Hell is Hot, which became the first of 4 albums to enter the charts at #1. DMX was admitted into a hospital in New York last week and, according to a hospital statement, died due to, quote, a catastrophic cardiac arrest. Joining me now to discuss the legacy and impact of DMX is ABC News contributor and Sirius XM radio host Mike Muse. Mike, great to see you tonight.
Hey, Kara, great to see you too as well. Wish we had any better circumstances.
I hear you. And I've been reading a lot of the tweets that are out there, and I saw rapper Biz Markie tweeted that DMX suffered for all our sins and his own. He was a lawless genius. Before we talk about what he did do for music, Mike, let's be real for a moment. He battled, he struggled, and he fought his demons daily, demons that more than likely now cost him his life.
He did. DMX was a very complex individual. DMX had this very duality about who he was. On the outside and through his lyrics, it was really aggressive lyrics. He presented a hard exterior shell. But the irony, Kira, through his lyrics, through his music, he was very vulnerable. I know a lot of people want to talk about so much about his style and his delivery, which was fantastic. But what gets lost on people was his gift of storytelling. If you think about the song called Slipping, he really talks about the story of his life and really how he began to make his life decisions the way that he did. The troubled childhood, the in and out of foster care and of youth homes, right? Getting into juvenile system really early, not really having a structure. He talked about that himself, and those what led to some of the decisions that he's made. But I think he was always honest about that up front through his music.
You know, you make such a good point. I mean, clearly his addictions and the abuse that he suffered, the run-ins with the law, it all contributed to his lyrical genius. Why do you think so many people identified with that and loved that transparency?
Well, there's two things at play, Kira. As you know, the mark of a great artist is the more vulnerable they are, the more connected they are with their audience or with their fan base. The more vulnerable a painter is with his paintings or her paintings, the more he connects with the community of art. And that is no different than what was happening with DMX. Hip hop is a story of community. Hip hop tells a story of people who have been marginalized. Hip hop tells a story of those who have been forgotten. Hip hop tells a story of those who kind of had to make it on their own. And when you listen to the stories that they tell, it's very educational. It goes to the social construct of our system, of a failing K through 12 system. It goes to how much our juvenile detention center really doesn't rehabilitate, but actually makes it much more difficult and challenging for these youths. And to talk about our prison system being rehabilitation, most people come out more hardened than what it is. And people fail to realize that when you grow up without structure and then you get addicted to drugs, back then we characterize it and we demonize it, which we should. It tells a story, and you really begin to understand like how much of our system has failed us and how much hardened it has been. And so it is a story of community, and that's why so many people relate to it, because it was so relatable. Then we call the drugs and we criminalize drugs behavior. But now that suburban white girls and white boys are getting addicted to opioids, that's what we're calling it now, in Vermont and Connecticut, now it's a public health addiction. So actually, Kira, I'm actually being really mindful in sense of, and I'm paying attention, is how is the media going to cover his drug abuse? How are the media going to cover his addiction? Will the media give him as much grace as they give others who have been addicted to opioids? Oh, that's a tough word for me, right? Or will they criminalize him and criminalize his behavior? I think this is going to be a true test of where we are in society and in culture and biases associated with drug addiction. That was DMX's story, the duality of him.
You know, it's interesting you talk about the biases, the duality. I think one fascinating nugget that I found is, you know, he was a rapper who had 2 #1 albums in just 1 year, putting him in the same company as Led Zeppelin, okay, and Tupac. I mean, yes. You talk about transformative, right? You know, how do you think his story should be told, considering, you know, you got to find a balance, right, with the struggles and also the genius?
You do, and that's honest storytelling. That's who he was. I mean, even referencing, there's another song that he dedicates to his grandmother. It's like an ode to his grandmother who passed away. And he says that, you know, maybe if she was still here, things would be different for him, right? You forget what life is like when you lose your North Star, your guide, your guidepost, your guardrails, right? And that's what happened with his grandmother when she left away. He was very spiritual. He was very religious. He talked about spirituality a lot. I recall the most recent verses that they had with Snoop Dogg, and he gave her prayer, Kira. I couldn't tell if it was a rap or it was a prayer, but that's how the duality of him existed, to where it really was a prayer, and he ended with "and in Jesus' name." And so I think how the story will be told is a genius, someone who had incredible delivery, someone who had complications and dualities, and it shows how a system failed him and how we can right the wrong for the next generations of individuals who are caught up in the system that has not been kind to them.
Mike Muse, thanks so much for the conversation tonight. And still to come, it was a KKK landmark where division and hate lived and breathed. But as they say, out with the old and in with the new. And the concerns about the French wine harvest potentially being decimated this year. Say it isn't so. Stay with us.
With so much at stake, so much on the line, more Americans turn here than any other newscast. ABC News World News Tonight with David Muir.
We have made it through another week together.
America's #1 most watched newscast across all of television.
Admit it, these days, what you need to know
seems to change just about every day.
What is it that you really want to know, need to know?
To help you not just get through your day,
but to make the most of it. Feel smarter.
Feel better.
Feel happier.
Well, how about a third hour of Good Morning America in the afternoon?
GMA 3, what you need to know. Lunchtime at 1 Eastern, 12 Central and Pacific on ABC. It's all about you.
Robin Roberts, George Stephanopoulos, Michael Strahan. Wake up with America's #1 most watched morning show, ABC's
Good Morning America.
The world may feel out of your control, but your happiness doesn't have to be. Learn the secrets to happiness. Listen to the 10% Happier podcast, free on Apple Podcasts.
ABC News honored winner for the second straight year with the Edward R. Murrow Award for Overall Excellence in Television. ABC News, America's #1 news source. Friday nights, 9/8 Central. True crime, cinematic, real-life drama, stunning, the unthinkable. Follow the clues. The Hunt. True crime. 2020. Friday nights, 9/8 Central on ABC.
The reality is our country can collapse from within.
You see the white power movement on the march. Klansmen and neo-Nazis, skinheads, it's meant to incite war.
From the KKK to Oklahoma City to Charlottesville, the new documentary event special.
We just need to start talking about race.
Homegrown hate, the war among us.
This is a real wake-up call.
Streaming now on ABC News Live.
Now, when it matters most, the straightforward facts. ABC News is America's #1 news. #1 in the morning, #1 in the evening, with America's most watched newscast. #1 in late night versus the competition. The #1 news magazine on Friday nights. #1 in politics across this historic election versus the competition. The #1 daytime talk show. And #1 in streaming news. ABC News is America's #1 news.
Well, we are tracking several international headlines at this hour. Mass evacuations underway on the Caribbean island of St. Vincent. Plumes of ash up to 5 miles into the air after one of 2 massive volcanic eruptions so far today. Thousands of people have been ordered to leave the area, and cruise ships have arrived to try to take people to safety. Tensions remain high in Northern Ireland after a week of riots have threatened the fragile peace deal between those who want to remain in the UK and others who want to be a part of Ireland. Much of the violence has escalated at night, and rioters have even targeted police officers with Molotov cocktails, injuring more than 70 people so far. COVID restrictions and a crackdown on gangs is being blamed for some of the recent violence. It's being called a crisis, with 90% of the grape harvest in France potentially damaged or destroyed by late-season frost. Wine growers there have had to resort to using heaters to try and protect their precious vineyards. Chardonnay vines appear to be the most impacted because their shoots were more advanced. Well, there's a reason it's called retail therapy, but the combination of the pandemic and advertising by phone, online shopping is becoming a bit of a problem. Rebecca Jarvis has more.
My own mall. Bags, blouses, and boots. Oh my.
Do not open that closet!
For many in this pandemic, online shopping is a consumer convenience, but for some, it's become a borderline addiction. If you're mindlessly filling up your cart, you're not alone.
I need your honest opinion. You can't afford them?
People have access to their computers, their phones, they're sitting on their sofas. Most of them are bored. There's a lot of pent-up demand.
According to recent data, e-commerce is a booming business, expected to bring in $6.4 trillion by 2024. The U.S. Postal Service reporting package volume growing by nearly 1.2 billion pieces. Much of this fueled by pandemic shoppers. But experts say there are ways for consumers to spend less and shop smarter. Tip 1, avoid clicking ads and using quick digital wallet services. Tip 2, ask yourself if you really need it.
I think I'm set for jeans.
No, you're not set for jeans, Cal.
Tip 3, set a budget.
Jill, how did you pay for all this?
This is actually the most important thing that you can do, because if you are setting the guardrails up and making sure that you are staying within it, you can prevent yourself from really doing damage.
And our thanks to Rebecca Jarvis. Up next, our journey to a town in South Carolina, the former headquarters of the KKK, to be exact. The building we're talking about closed down in 2012, and now it's undergoing a historic renovation by its new owner, a local pastor. Elwin Lopez has the story of how a symbol of hate is now a place of hope.
So this is it.
This is it.
Deep in Lawrence, South Carolina, for decades, these wooden doors led to a place known as the world's only Ku Klux Klan museum, the Redneck Shop. And in the back, a spot where white supremacists came together, documented through video and memorabilia left behind.
This is where the KKK would meet.
Right, this is where they would have their meetings at, their rallies. They had a good time in here doing what racists do.
Sold inside Klan ropes, Confederate bikinis, and racist posters.
Pop, it up.
25 years ago on this historic courthouse square, it was Reverend David Kennedy who led the fight against the horrors inside.
The first time I walked in, they knew me and they knew about my protesting.
Were they surprised you walked in?
They were very aggravated.
And then, in a twist of fate, the black preacher came to own it. The person who sold it to him, a former Klansman in need of financial help.
He said, "Give me $1,000. As a man. I said, "You sure about this?" He said, "I'm sure."
The man so sure about selling the deed was Michael Burden. After rejecting the Klan in 1996, Burden and his family were forced out of their home. That's when Reverend Kennedy and the New Beginning Missionary Baptist Church stepped in.
And from the day one, they walked into that church. They were treated like human beings.
What was the reaction of church members when they walked in, knowing that Michael was an ex-Klansman?
You mean did they...
Were they worried? Were they shocked? Were they...
No, they did everything they possibly could to handle the needs that they had to do.
Their unlikely friendship a starting point for this once divisive space. In 2012, after a legal back and forth, the keys were finally turned over to the man who once tried to close its doors.
What will it feel like to gut this?
It'll feel good.
The foundation will remain, but what's inside will forever be changed.
And now you're transforming it into a place of love.
Yes.
And equity.
It has to be transformed from a place of destruction to a place of construction.
That place of construction is the ECHO Project, slated to become a multicultural diversity center.
It's the ability for people to come, to learn, to listen, to engage, and to confront directly the fact that these things happen. This is going to be a place which is a beacon of healing.
The healing journey spearheaded in part by its executive director, Reagan Freeman.
And he said that he was on fire. He stays on fire. He's full of energy. And but it was like a breath of fresh air. And then when I met him, it was off the chain.
Inside, nearly a decade after its closure, little is left of the Redneck Shop. But this massive swastika on the back wall still stands, visible even through double-coated paint.
You can see it kind of is still outlined. I mean, it doesn't get any more direct than a 25-foot swastika mural. And for what that represents to this community, it's staggering. It certainly is.
A stark reminder of what took place here and why its transformation today is needed more than ever.
We'll undo what they had planned to do. This is a mission for us. It is strong in our minds. It's strong in our hearts.
Well, before we go, we want to bid a special farewell to someone who, during the most stressful and scariest times of the last year, made sure that we got all of you the information that you needed. Our very own man bun marvel, Brian Kynes. Yes, that's Brian. He definitely is a peaceful person. He's also a senior producer on our team who will be leaving us as he achieves his California dreams with his beautiful family. Brian, thank you for your hard work, your dedication, even more so, your huge heart and your fabulous stories. You'll be painfully missed, and I mean painfully. We wish you all the success, and you're always welcome back. That's our show for tonight. Stay tuned for ABC News Live for more context analysis and the day's top stories. I'm Kira Phillips. Thanks so much for streaming with us.